Well, I hope everybody had a great 4th of July. I know California didn't. Holy shit, did you see the news on that one? 4th of July, earthquakes, 6.4. I've sat through a 5. They're not too fun. 6 and a 7? That'll relocate your house, if not break it into little tiny pieces. So I hope everybody in California that may see this is okay, safe, even though your legislature is incredibly insane and shit needs to be fixed. You know, natural disaster is a natural disaster. I hope everybody's okay. That being said, the only thing interesting that happened, I think, was the presidential debates, if you want to call it that. It was Q&A. It wasn't a debate. It was Q&A. There was accusations of the two frontrunners of an actual grassroots movement being silenced, Yang and Tulsi Gabbard. Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard. And those two, if they were actually to win the nominee, would be ones that I'd actually, if I were still a Democrat, vote for. For those that don't know, I did the hashtag walkaway campaign because I was absolutely sick of what the Democrats have become. They're everything I don't represent. It's disgusting. They were once upon a time, at least I thought so. Not so much. Watching their behavior as of late, not so much. And by behavior, I mean the leadership of the Democratic Party. Not necessarily Democrats in general. So, I thought I'd do a reaction of the reactions rather than going over the debate itself. I did watch both, but I cringed through both, I should say. There was some salient moments that I thought were quite interesting that everybody highlighted, and I got clips of those, thankfully, which is cool. But yeah, I'd rather do the reactions. I think some people are off by a few things, and that's fine. But all in all, it was a competition to see who was more woke, it felt like. It was very annoying. It was endless platitudes, accusations of who's done what when, and quite annoying. They did another debate in Houston with the Educators Association, and I don't know how that went. They're supposed to be all on stage. I didn't get to see that one. It was a closed engagement, as it were, so maybe we'll get to see clips of that one. That should be fun. But the thing that stood out for me is the one that they're trying to push up for the front runner. That would have been Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is an interesting individual, and if you ever want to see somebody that's a would-be dictator, look toward her. There's reasons I say this. First off, she isn't afraid to insult and put anyone down that is her political opponent, regardless of being on the same sides or not. For example, you heard shots fired at Joe Biden for his busing. She never had to ride those buses. It was completely voluntary. She also, as you might see it, this is the thing I think everybody missed, in fact, on this particular thing, when she called out the busing. And that's that she would like to see state power absolved. She thinks that through these different acts, as she put it, the Civil Rights Act and a few others, that the buses should have been mandatory for all states, whether or not they got it right. That is top-down dictatorial power, something that our country is designed to fight against. This is why states' rights come before federal rights, except for in certain cases of national security. All 50 states' security. Border control is one of those. Well, she doesn't exactly believe in the border, so there you go. She's definitely, I think, a dictator, or a would-be dictator if she got into power. For a few reasons. It was just that. That was just a glimpse. I was like, wait a second. So you don't believe in states' rights, you believe in federal rights, and the states should just align to what the federals say. That's the way she thinks. She thinks that the state needs to align to the feds. So the states that are doing sanctuary cities are now against the feds, and therefore they need to step in line. Either that, or she passes a mandate allowing all cities to be sanctuary cities, thus neutering ICE essentially. That's amazing to me that you would think that way and then impose your dictatorial rule across the world like that, or at least United States. That's insane. Well, I caught another glimpse of her Twitter feed. I don't know how this ended up on my Twitter feed, but I think somebody liked it or something, or shared it. I don't know, retweeted it. So I saw it, and I was like, well, that kind of concretes my view of Kamala Harris. She is definitely a would-be dictator. She said, within the first 100 days of office, that she would pass, or expect Congress to pass, across-the-board gun control, so that we have limitations to our firearms. And it should be passed, and if the Congress can't do their job, well then, she will just do it by executive order. Something that violates the Constitution, has already been stated to violate the Constitution, she will just do unilaterally because she can. Does that include gun confiscation and stuff like that? Well, she would have state by state by state lawsuit preventing such things, because somebody's going to bring it up to a judge, somebody's going to not like this, somebody's going to be a lawyer and be able to do it, and then she'll be neutered and her executive order will be not followed. Plain and simple. States' rights trump federal rights. She doesn't seem to think that this is going to be the way she wants it. So how is she going to enforce said laws? If Congress won't do their job, she's just going to tell them what to do? That's highly undemocratic, don't you think? I really think that she's a would-be dictator. Everything that she says Trump would have been. Which is funny because Trump acted in the same way when he first got into office. And he had a rude awakening. Rightly so. He figured out that he can't do that. And I can understand why. But with Kamala, she's a career politician. She should know better. She should know how the government works. You can't just do an executive order and expect the government to fall in line. That's not how things work in this country. The states have the more power than the federal government in most cases. They can tell you to go piss off. So, for example, and a good example, mind you, I think anyways, is that Colorado said F you to having federally made weed illegal. They legalized it in that state. What you gonna do? You can't do anything about that. State law trumps federal law. They decided to decriminalize weed within Colorado. You're done. You have no argument there. There's nothing you can do. It is the way it is. And we did it this way on purpose. So that the concentration of power is not stuck within a single government. It's not a hierarchy. It's not top-down rule here. It's bottom-up. This is why all freaking federal leaders that go into government should be servant leaders. They should be the ones that are being given orders, not the other way around. They don't get to give orders. These politicians, it seems more on the Democratic side, but I've seen it on both. They seem to think that once they get in that seat of power, they can dictate things down to people as if they were in charge. No, you were elected to do a job because you promised things and you need to deliver on said promises. That doesn't seem to be the case in their case anyways. What's interesting to me is the douchebag I hate the most in the Congress, just because I don't like his face and the way he talks. It's just annoying as hell. Ted Cruz is making more sense than most of the Democratic Party. I hate that. I really do. And I think it's because he's on a wedge issue that I particularly care about, and that's the internet in particular. He's dead set against all these people. I'm thinking of doing something rather drastic and then reaching out to a bunch of people to have it ratified. But we'll see. Because there's a whole lot of talk about it, but no one's lifted a finger. Well, I don't mind lifting that finger. And no, it's not the middle finger. But anyways, I think it's interesting that to watch her twitch and yell and bite under these Democratic, if you can call them a debate, to watch her do that shit. She is not somebody that should be voted for. From what I see, the moment she seizes power, she's going to try and wield it like a sledgehammer. And that's dangerous. They thought Trump would do the same thing, and he got put in check. Well, when she gets in power, I'm not so sure that she would get put in check in the states that are super uber democratic. That kind of scares me. But then again, the Republicans do the same thing. So I'm wondering if it'll turn out the way she thinks. But the fact that she's already decided that if the Congress doesn't do her job, she's just going to do an executive order to do it, that's insane. I hate Trump, to be honest. I think he's an idiot, a douchebag. But at least he learned his lesson. That you can't wield, like, CEO-style power. You can't tell people what to do. Within Congress, it doesn't work that way. They'll just shut you down. Republicans are the ones that taught him that fair lesson, mind you. When he tried to do a couple of his first laws that didn't quite work out. Now, did it? The ban, the travel ban in particular, that didn't quite work out the way he thought it would because the way he worded it, and the Republicans also shut him down. Why? Because you don't get to be a dictator in the presidential seat. That's not how that seat was designed. You do get to get last say, per se, based on your own politics and conscience and conscience and whatever. But you don't get to pass down dictatorial control. Clear to me that a lot of these people that are trying to go for this seat think that that's the seat of power to which you can rule the entire United States by telling them what to do. And what's next? They're going to dissolve the Senate? Make it obsolete? It's just emperor versus the people? That's a good way to get a rebellion started. Worked in Star Wars, right? Anyways, I thought I'd do a little commentary, and unfortunately I railed on Kamala Harris a little bit too much, but she's the one that caught my eye the most. The rest, it was just empty platitudes and social justice nonsense. It was just stupid. Yang and Harris kind of made sense, sort of. I do not like the idea of that universal basic income. That's the dumbest thing on earth. But when it comes to universal basic income, that's going too far, in my opinion. We got a social safety net, but the problem with our social safety net today is that it makes you codependent upon the state. Once you're in it, it's hard to get out. And my family has worked in that sector in particular, heat, and food stamps, and the WIC and others. They actually worked in that sector, if you will. And they'd see the same people over and over again. Like they were longtime customers, if you will. And they couldn't get off because some of them actually would work just so much that they could get the state benefits. They wouldn't work more. They'd work just under so that it would be poor enough so they can get state's benefits. Think about that. That'd make you codependent upon the state. You get free food, free lodging, free heat, free whatever, because you decided not to work as much. Because you decided not to go for more. It doesn't make sense. So Andrew Yang's universal basic income, all that's going to do is make people codependent upon the state. Not to mention, here's the biggest flaw with all of that shit where they want to give people things. The state has no industry. It has no way of making money. Therefore, paying everybody out does not make sense. It's like trying to give people a bonus. How is that possible? We pay the government. They do a job. That's the way it's supposed to work. Taxes are not meant to be redistribution of wealth. They're supposed to be, here's your coffer for the month, Mr. Mayor. Do your goddamn job. That's the purpose of taxes. To think you can redistribute wealth off of the money I make is incredibly insane. That's not the way taxes are supposed to be used. They're meant to pay the person that you hired and elected to do a job. That's the purpose of the taxes. The thing that bothered me the most, and this is off subject a little bit, was the latest thing with trying to raise their own cost of living by a ridiculous amount, they have to vote for their own raise. Who is going to vote against their own raise? That makes no sense to me. That's something I think should change. I think it should be put out to a general election vote. The people decide whether or not you get a raise. And if you're doing a shit job, you don't deserve a goddamn raise. In fact, you deserve to be written up. I hate to say it. Oh my god. It doesn't make sense to me. Anyways, I'll leave it there. I thought the analysis was interesting. Out of them, the one that people are saying Kamala Harris did the greatest, she would do the greatest to a social justice warrior that's a communist and likes centralized power. I mean, of course she would. That's insane. But we'll see how the next ones go, right? Once they got a front runner pick, just watch Trump pull out the ammunition. They have no one to stop him, save for the two, Yang and Gabbard. I think both of those could withstand Trump's stupidity and dish it back. The rest of them, not so much. They're classic politicians. They're empty. So, I hope you enjoyed this one. I'll see you next time.
Master, your technique is invincible, and you're bound to get the leadership.
Well now, who's next?